Hey, what's going on, YouTube? Good morning. Made it to another Friday. Finally Friday. Seems like we've made it at least. What is going on out there? Hope everybody's doing good. Looks like we got more weather moving around a little bit of everywhere. We got our next round of storm coming in for tonight, I guess. Coming our way. Should be lots of fun. Let's see, we got it's a pretty good amount of snow up there in the northwest. Wayne West Wind Survival just did a video last night, put out about the storm coming his way and some of his go bag, or I guess you'd say emergency bag preparations. He did a video on. So I guess they're expecting some. So it looks like the winter weather is there. It's rare to get snow on the coast up there in particular. You can see it's hitting right there above Seattle, Vancouver Island. Food Forest Permaculture's up in that area. They're all getting some good snow. So good on them. See who we got here in the side chat. Well, I'm going to try to track down some uninteresting things to talk about other than the weather. Kill Dill Survival's with us. Good morning. Irish USMC vet. Reveille. That's what's up. Still working on it, though. Still got to work on it. Haven't got the first cup of coffee in. Angel R is with us. And the Delaware Patriot. Good morning. Cowpokes, really? What's everybody up to? I think I just saw you all yesterday, so not much has changed. Flooding yesterday, snow today. Really, Irish? In your AO? Doesn't show any snow over you, but if you it shows it right a tiny bit, but it's not showing anything like it is over Idaho. That's for sure. But that's neither here nor there. All that matters is what's actually happening, right? But thanks for checking in. What else is going on out there in the world? Anybody got anything in particular you wanted to bring up? I haven't even checked the headlines yet. I haven't had. Everything seemed to be normal when I hit the rack last night. But I know the one big thing that I saw that came across the radar yesterday was the Brexit thing is getting drug out to the nth degree of delay. And I'm telling people that I think it's going to be our worst fears. They're going to just basically say, hey, we're not doing it. And hopefully the people burn that place down if they do. Let me see if I can find any current stories on that. '70s for you, Angel. Isn't that a little bit cool on the cool side for you? I guess it's not on the Drudge anymore, but it did pop up yesterday about Brexit. Somebody put a poll up yesterday on, was it Twitter? Asking who do you think would win in a war? France, Germany against like Hungary, Poland, and somebody else or something. Like, what is going on? Just talk about the EU falling apart. Who wants to keep it together, and those that want to leave, like, are they willing to fight about it, basically? Who would have ever thought that Europe would go down that road? Cannot find. Typhus outbreak spreads the city hall in LA. We talked about the typhus coming around back in the summer or the late fall, maybe, and just how a lot of that's tied to fleas and pests spread that pretty well. That's interesting. Things making a comeback. Probably no surprise. Did the side chat just shut down when I came on, or what? You just started. You guys are commenting away, and then you just clam up once I get in here. Markets are got a little uncertainty going on in the markets. They were down yesterday, and everybody's trying to make excuses for why they keep going down. Janet Yellen floated out their negative interest rates the other day. Was it yesterday? May have been Wednesday. In a late interview she did that, but she covered it with, well, the Fed can go either way, to give them some air of legitimacy. And then she said, but they could also go to negative interest rates. We just don't know how bad it could get, I don't think. Dadgummit. And silver and gold just jumped up big time today. Well, at least relatively speaking. 13 cents isn't big time, but it's a big move for silver. Just when I was getting hopeful yesterday that it would continue to slide down to be able to get some. U.S. Oh, yeah. Well, was it the regime claiming Hezbollah was in Venezuela, or was it some other source? I saw that, Angel. That's a good. I laughed so hard at that. Like, yeah, there's all these radical Muslims running around Venezuela. It's almost funny. The good news is I'm sure all the pig farms have already been wiped out, so they don't have to worry about offending themselves. Hey, West Wind. Hey, Wayne. Yeah, I was talking about your video from yesterday, getting ready for that big winter storm coming up your way. Looks like you've got it figured out. At least you got figured out. You need to be prepared. That's what's most important, right? Morning, Walter. How's it going? Do you think that Hezbollah claim will get traction, Angel? Like people actually listen to that more than it's like people aren't biting on the fact that Russia and China may be doing gaining economically and stuff. We need people getting enraged about something. So let's say that Hezbollah's there, right? Like, are you just making this stuff up now at this point? Just anything to make it as negative as possible. I guess probably all it was like a couple of Hezbollah people went on vacation. That's all. Can't go on vacation these days, or what? I cannot find anything on that Brexit story except for a financial, like how they're going to lessen the financial blow if there's a no deal Brexit. Which would probably be the best deal anyway. That's over on Zero Hedge. Check that out. See what they got to say here. So, Prime Minister at a meeting with the EU Commission to formally petition for the reopening the Brexit withdrawal agreement. For meaningful changes to this text, so the EU said no, but they offered offered to change the accompanying political declaration. So this is out of the Financial Times of London, I guess, that Zero Hedge is reporting off of here, reporting the existence of a top secret cabinet plan to mitigate economic fallout from a no-deal Brexit. Yeah, that'll probably, a no-deal Brexit would probably be better than no Brexit at all. Let's put it that way there. For May and all her cronies. Though some stray details had already leaked, like the notion that the UK could temporarily cut tariffs to zero to help goods flow across new customs barriers more quickly. Known as Project After, hadn't been previously disclosed. Europe reportedly began ramping up plans of its own, but the fact that the UK's plan is being shepherded by Cabinet Secretary Sedwell shows this how serious the government is taking the process. That's Zero Hedge's words. As it stands, the plan would require the cooperation of senior figures from the Cabinet Office, the Treasury, the Business Department, and the International Trade Department, as well as the Bank of England. That's the real stick in the mud. That's who's causing all the chaos anyway. The Bank of England and the parentheses here. The Bank of England slashed its GDP forecast and warned about the economic damage already being wrought by the chaotic Brexit negotiations, sending the pound reeling on Thursday. So it doesn't look like they have much of a plan for a no Brexit solution to steady the ship. They continue to do half measures to stoke fear in the public, in my eyes. Here in the quotes, MPs worried about Project After's focus on supply side reforms could create problems for the UK economy in the long run. Officials are trying to eliminate options that could prove economically counterproductive. Some worrying that slashing taxes and increasing public spending could lead inflation to spike. You think? Damaging consumer confidence, raising interest rates, and ultimately increasing the cost of Britain's debt servicing. If Britain had a supply side shock and the government uses demand side stimuli, it would cause inflation, one official said. The problems that are going to manifest themselves at this time. One facet of planning is looking at deregulation and other possible remedies that one lawmaker said would transform the UK into Singapore on the sea. So we're looking at areas to boost the economy through deregulation, for example, environmental standards and reform to labor laws. If they wanted to become Singapore, what we would have done. So what the implication is that the Tories will transform Britain into a polluted anarcho-capitalist hellscape is the implication. The fear-mongering continues there on that end. But I don't know where that story was on that I saw on what else they were doing for Brexit. It seems like it would have been quite interesting. Who else we got jumping in here? Dad on YouTube, good morning. Yeah, Angel, we've become don't care about Venezuela, desensitized. Yeah, that's the thing about it. Americans looked at it like, yeah, it doesn't seem important. Why would we get involved? And then then they know we're going to be in a war, and people are going to be like, wait, what happened? It does seem to be part of the situation. Disinterest. Chris Cook, good morning. How are you? Iron Witch, good morning. J Mac, what's up, J Mac? Stefan Minkenberg. We're just talking about your buddies over there across the pond and their Brexit plans. If it's going to happen or not. Venezuela's a lost cause. Right, J Mac? They are. So let them be lost alone. They don't need to have us lost down there with them, right? We don't need a little J Mac going down there for any reason, right? Hey, good morning, Miss B. Stacy. How's it going? Yeah, no sunshine here. At least not internally. There's probably sunshine outside. A Chipper 66 has joined us. Good morning. All right, all right. So that was the biggest thing that I saw that I was trying to track down, and I can't find nothing on it. The interesting thing about the Venezuela thing, Angel, is if the Dems thought that it would be a quagmire, they would probably let Trump get involved, because the one thing they don't want is a wartime president on the whole re-election thing, because Americans always go with a nationalist tilt when they have a wartime president, because he's already made moves potentially to get us out of Syria and Afghanistan, which hopefully follows through on. But if he was to be fully involved in a war of some sort, obviously undeclared anyway and illegal, but Americans are way past worried about that. But having the air of the commander-in-chief always works in their favor with the public. You know what I'm saying? That seems to be why the Democrats are silent. They're waiting for the president to step in it to mess himself up. Because weren't the Democrats all anti-war and stuff? Especially in this case, you think they a lot of them would be just chomping at the bit to go to an anti-war protest or something. But they are pushing their agenda. This Ocasio-Cortez person is hitting all the high notes on undermining the country. Tens of thousands of people marching to oust Macron, so why aren't we invading them? Well, maybe it's because we don't want Macron either. Just depends on whose side we're on, right, Angel? Maybe we're the ones stoking the protests through the CIA, just like in the Ukraine when they had their riots. The CIA going out and shooting people in the street and stuff. Or CIA-backed persons, I guess you could say. Right on, J-Mac. Military drills in California. Yeah, the LA situation, Stacy, they talking about that. The other day they had those video of the helicopters and whatnot. I didn't see anything about the military bombing in Hawaii. I haven't seen anything about that, but that we talked about the LA thing the other day. Obviously not a well publicized event, which they usually get ahead of that stuff with the local press, but it wasn't very well distributed, and it's obviously a, what would you say, seems to be an unnecessary training ground when you consider all the things available, unless you're getting ready to go into large places like Beijing and all those large cities around the world. But that was definitely like some Delta action going on there with the helicopters they were using and whatnot, which also made it why it was done so quietly. Doesn't see anything new coming across the Twitter machine this morning. Nothing earth-shatteringly important. Yo, you made that. That was a quick drive to get home there, West Wind. Aren't you leaving soon to go down south? Dad says I used to toss in a helicopter clip or two at the end of my vids just because I thought they were cool. Now you see so many in the sky that you're afraid to post it. Yeah, I did a whole series, Dad. I used to do videos on the different helicopters flying over and what kind they were and how they sounded, talking about how you can tell the difference in sounds, the different aircraft. I even did some C-130s and stuff. Thought that was cool too. We don't have that many around here, but we're close to some. Between the National Guard and Fallon, the Naval Air Station, you got a lot of different aircraft flying around. Potentially, depending on what they're doing, you can tell when business is picking up when certain training goes down. There's a difference between a SAR bird and the SEALs birds, that's for sure. Stefan, what about the new arrest of politician, military court investigations? What is this you speak of, Stefan? I don't know what you're talking about. Who's arresting politicians? I didn't know there were any arrests. Are you saying we should? Yes, West Wind, the Financial Times may be part of the problem of everybody inching towards war. Yeah, Angel, I don't think Venezuela is the largest in gold, but they are the largest known oil reserves in the traditional sense. I think if you go with the recoverable oil reserves along with using fracking and stuff, I think they've determined that what was it? UAE or Qatar recently had that discovery that may have put them in the lead. I can't remember. You're not heading south for a month, Wayne? All right. You got plenty of time up there to enjoy the nice rainy northwest, right? It's gonna be a culture shock environmentally, a whole different world. Hey, RG Homestead, good morning. How are you? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Stefan, you read a fake arrest of Soros in Switzerland? That'd be fairly shocking if Soros got elected. But you read about it? Interesting. It's all hypothetical, I guess. One can have a dream, right? One can have a dream. I've got a dream. kind of everybody crying wolf. Yeah, the whole Jade Helm thing jaded everybody on the whole looking at training evolutions. Well, people don't know what they're looking at, and that was part of the problem with all the stuff on YouTube. And you go in there and try to correct them, be like, hey, and I was trying to tell people, it's like, well, for one, all those things are on rail cars and they're all packed. They're not like deployed for war. So that's like the last thing I'm worried about. When you see company size plus elements in the streets with troops packed and locked and loaded, that's when you know it's going down. There's a big difference between what movement of vehicles and stuff looks like versus what troops in the street looks like. But we did spend all these millions of dollars on, or probably close to billions of dollars, on these ready-made cities on training bases during the 80s and early 90s. And now everybody thinks they have to train in actual cities, kind of defeating the purpose there. Hey, let's talk about prepping. Good morning. How you doing, Tyler? Walter Davis is making music recommendations. We've jumped the shark, I think. Hey, Christine, good morning. Cutter is natural gas. Okay. I couldn't remember. I remember seeing something about they had that new discovery, like possibly the largest. Hey, what's up, bikes? Top of the morning to you. You got any good news down there in the southern part of the desert down there? Things aren't looking good for us bikes at all. Did you get the urgent alerts that went out? There's a hearing on the 12th up here in Carson City. They're going to be pushing that gun stuff that they pushed last election or last legislative session. I think we all know it's going to get through, but apparently they're having their committee hearings or whatnot on the 12th up here at noon, 12:30 maybe is what I saw. And everybody's up in arms on it. And I'm like, I don't know why we're up in arms. We knew it was coming. We need to get our local people on board and just say, pass all you want. Ain't nothing getting enforced or nothing getting, what's the word? No action being taken on it. We're not going to support it. We're not going to help you, suppress the people with this BS. That's the only thing that's going to matter because they're going to pass what they're going to pass. The big question is, what are the enforcers going to do? Because it's really going to be on the sheriffs to get a lot of that done. And that's the good thing about Nevada is we still are primarily sheriff based. The highway patrol won't be tasked with doing any of it, which is good. They can sit on the sidelines. They can have that excuse that it's not their job. But if they try to leverage them somehow, leverage them into it to make them the enforcers of that, that's where we might have a problem because what's his name? The Sleestack creature there, he already got his main man into the Department of Public Safety. So you got a yes man that he's got there that's going to comply with whatever's pushed. So we'll see how they go. Angel, you will comply? Oh, Angel, I'm sure if you were not complying, you wouldn't be the only one. But you're not in Nevada, so you don't have to worry about it. It'll just be me, Bikes, and Tony in the grave together. You know, it won't be it'll just be a three amigos, and maybe Reb will probably be there too. So the population might boost a little bit in the area grave sites if they have their way, if they have their wishes, because that's what they really want, is you to take yourself out of the picture. Of course, they would rather put you in prison because that boosts their profits on their stock options they own in different private facilities, right? Yeah, Tyler, the whole legislative branch of Nevada has fallen. They passed it last time, but the attorney general we had wouldn't go along with it, or the governor for that matter. But now that they got the Sleestak creature based because he played on everybody's heartstrings after the October 1 deal, now they're trying to tie in the fact that a guy that got background checks for everything he had supposedly is somehow a background check bill for Universal is going to prevent that from happening again. It's all they're all in the Bloomberg agenda. They're knee deep in it. Our attorney general's just as guilty, I guess you'd say, or one of the ringleaders. He's a travesty, miscarriage of justice. And they're all going to hold hands together to oppress the people. Thug Life Sisolak can be bought. Yeah, Christine, I'm pretty sure he's bought and paid for. When you see him up there after October 1, when he was the one leading the calls, you knew that he was running for governor. That was the only reason he was up there. He's definitely got mob written all over him, though. And he doesn't even try to hide it. Clark County is just running a cesspool. Well, I ain't finding nothing interesting on the news side. Tommy Boy joined us yet. Looks like the Dow is down again today. Over 100 to start off with. Yeah, we just can't get above 26,000. People wonder why. People like to blame all kinds of things. But I think Janet Yellen's asking for interest rates to go negative is going to be what it takes to really push that, economic stimulus over the top. Right, Bikes? We need, but the big thing is you got to talk to the boys in blue that are going to be enforcing that crap, because they're the ones that aren't communists, but they still just do their job types, you know? The reckoning is coming, and they're going to have to pick a side. As much as Angel might say they've already picked their side. And it doesn't matter what they do, but there's still some to be salvaged potentially. Somebody's going to have to become an outlaw. Might as well be me, right? Well, RG, I think that what's going to happen, what they want to push is another legislative fix. The last attorney general wouldn't enforce the law that was on the books. And I think they know there was some issues with the way that was written and passed, but they want to make some tweaks and probably push it through as soon as possible. They'll probably have it go active as soon as they pass it, because the governor will sign it. A lot of times, most of these laws will wait until the end of a legislative session in June or whatever. But they're going to push to get this through on top of up front. It looks like, with this being one of the first committee hearings that you're hearing news about, I don't think they're going to drag their feet. Dad, you started posting heli vids as part of your desire for revolution of FOS. I'm going to have to go back and check those out, Dad. FOS, I don't know what that means. A Dinky 223 is not as bad as some people think it is. This is true, especially when you're talking about aircraft and stuff. But I think, like I was talking about here, Dad, is the key is we're hoping that a lot of those people will step out of line and not comply to follow unlawful orders. So we don't have to worry about them. Angel, I like your counterintuitiveness today. You're toting the line pretty good. I like you demonstrating and voting. That's where it's at. Right, Barry? They're expendable assets. That's the thing. Yeah, they're going to be cannon fodder. They're going to be, and they've already been leveraged, to be a wedge between the people and the powers that be, the power structure, the government controllers. They're already put there as a wedge. That's why they have their own flag that even represents them dividing the country. It's almost like good symbolism. But you're right; they're expendable. I don't know, Dad. I don't know if a Mosin, not an Apache, those things are all armored up front. I don't think an Apache or a Cobra, you're not taken out with no Mosin. Now Tyler's talking a potato cannon. There you go. That might work on something. See what else might be going down. See if I missed a refresh here while we're going through the morning chat. Did Delaware Patriot check out on us? Had to get the real job. Yeah, Angel, you don't want to be labeled. You're already labeled. We know that. If you associate with me, you're labeled whether you like it or not. Even the people who aren't extreme. Tyler, you hit on a good subject. I would say that is in the works and has been happening over the last 20 years. Uh, I've seen the composition of the military change drastically, especially under the last regime. You say Patriot neutral units is exactly what they were going for. And they got a lot of that in the last 10 years or so. Because a lot of people who saw what was coming with the way the war on supposed terrorism was working and the agenda, people got tired of that because they saw it for the disaster it was. And then got out, and all these like directionless people like you're talking about, plus they're Patriot neutral, um, is a problem. So the split is not like it used to be in the military, for sure. Exploding arrows, good point, Chipper 66. Chipper's onto something there too. Hey, Tammy Purdy, good morning. How are you? Washington State's not a great place. Are you up in that location? You got a bunch of Northwesterners up here, up in here. It's good. We got to counterbalance what's going on. We got all the Southerners that were taking over there for a while here in the chats. So we got to have some balance to the force with the West Coast out here. Oh, there's Delaware. Delaware checking back. The Hold a Pale Horse. Yeah, that's is that book really that old? Or am I you're not that old, are you? That was a few years back, I guess. Yeah. Right, West Wind. And that goes, people always talk about the military. I always used to tell them The military is merely a reflection of its society. If your society is jacked, your military is going to be the same way. You're going to get a slightly different breakdown just because of capabilities and ability. But people expect the military to be full of supermen that aren't produced in society. It's like you're only going to get what society produces. So thus is our situation. If you know what I'm saying, which I know that you do. Well, when's the next government shutdown? Who's got the tabs on the government shutdown clock? We got that to look forward to. I don't know that if, as Gregory Mannarino put out his morning stock market opening statement, he just put out a tweet talking about the immediate jump in some of the accounts. J Mac, you lived in Washington State for 4 years. You weren't impressed? It's a nice place to visit. It's got some nice terrain. Mount Rainier's nice out there in the Cascades and all. Good places to hike and stuff. I wouldn't want to live there. Seattle is a disaster. And last time I was in Seattle was, I guess the last time I was there was 2000. You know, we thought it was bad back when Nirvana was popular and all that whole thing was running the show. It's not gotten any better. And you hear the stories now about their soda tax and all that stuff that's just $15 minimum wage, yada, yada. Yeah. Not ideal. That was interesting. The whole book series, 299 Days, the Glenn Tate book about I guess it becomes a civil war essentially, but after an economic collapse, economic trials and tribulations, he's up there in the Northwest, and that's where the book is based out of. Pretty good series. I still haven't finished it yet, though. Where am I at here? Washington is awesome. Politically, the Californians ruined it, right? Right, West Wind? You would like to think that there's still hope for Eastern Washington and Eastern Oregon, but short of anything catastrophic, they're doomed, I guess you'd say. Aliens? It's about the deep state and aliens. Really? The Pale Horse book is about aliens as well? I did not know that. Why would smart kids want to be cannon fodder? All right. Let's see where we're at. I'm just reading you guys' comments. I'm trying to get educated here. Right, Tammy. We touched on the revenue subject a while back about how it used to be, you know, bad effects, especially back when the days of Prohibition. The whole song "Rocky Top" was a that's just fun to sing because it was talking about getting the federal revenuers out of your area. People usually actually do that. What happened? It's like, how did we get from there to where we are now? You know, um, and that goes back to electronic currency and everything else. There's so many things are tied in, but people just accept being stolen from back then. But back then they had to send people to actually come and take your stuff. Nowadays they just do it over a computer, and people can do little about it. And also now that you talk about the thin blue line, they all conspire together. They've leveraged their influence into local sheriffs and police departments through funding, so that they get compliance when they go to push things like that, and they don't get resistance from the local level, because if your local law enforcement is pushing it, it's harder to resist. The revenuers have free sway to take what they want. And they were able to convince people that being illegal makes it right. Just because they make a law makes it so. Just like with the hemp thing, between hemp and alcohol and all the other prohibition statutes that they were able to get people to push as being morally wrong as well as legally wrong. We have generations. We're so many generations down the pipe that it's going to take a while still to get people out of that mindset. It's working in some respects, but a lot of the counter prohibition things aren't necessarily for the right reasons either. But as you can be up against prohibition, it's because prohibition isn't right. And we're winning there's some ground being won on that front. Dad says society was better when the tax man feared the people, right? Yeah, no doubt, Dad. Exactly. They wouldn't step over the line. Taxes were much lighter and much less lightly felt when having to be collected in person. The scam is real. West Wind, the people that want to bring up the state of liberty have no plan to keep Spokane from controlling the whole state. Well, the biggest thing is that there's little legislative power. Is the best way to prevent that. Is the legislature has to have such hard boundaries that it can't. And that's another thing about the state of Jefferson. Not that you bring up secession movements, West Wind, because the state of Jefferson doesn't have a large central city like that in the boundaries. I guess Chico might be the largest city in the state of Jefferson. But it's much more. I guess I can see your point on. But the state of liberty does that encompass? Is it just Eastern Washington and Eastern Oregon? Is that what state of liberty is, or is it just Eastern Washington? But having a population center, the biggest thing is you can't have direct democracy. You've got to break it down to representative government to the extreme, I guess you would say. It's like we should go back if Congress still had the same representation population-wise as it did in 1805, we'd have like 30,000 representatives in Washington, D.C. Would nothing get done? Yes, nothing would get done, which is what the whole which is what the whole point is. There shouldn't be things getting done except for the most extreme necessary ones that enough people can agree on. Somebody did the math on that, but it's something, so it's a very large number of representatives if we were represented at the same population levels, instead of, they keep pushing to have a representative represent more and more people. So now that we're to the point to where, what is it? A representative represents like 600,000 people or something. So it's like so much condensed power, and they cover up the voices of so many. Largely our problem. But that would be solve liberty's problem to a certain degree, West Wind, is decentralized representation. Learn the lessons of the past. And just really ironclad rules in a constitution that people start hanging people if they break them, instead of, well, everybody tried to keep Lincoln from breaking them, but Lincoln had his own way. That's where we've started our path down our current voyage. All right, I'm not finding anything interesting in the news, and I don't want to look up Venezuela because it's just an overdone topic, and it's like, let it succeed or fail on its own merits. We're done. The Chinese will probably be able to save it to a certain degree and put a port in and do all their things, but we don't need to worry about it. Where are we at in the side chat here? Who's paying taxes in the U.S.? Normally it's free for workers. What? Stefan, you don't know what an income tax is? Everybody pays an income tax. It's a part of any type of system. They have these whole mandatory reporting laws. That's part of the thing where the immigration thing's a catch-22 is it's mandatory reporting for IRS purposes. So everybody goes at it from the, we've got to report illegals that are employed deal, but that's how they entrap everybody into income tax too, is they have to report your citizenship status and your tax ID number and your social security number. They're all just traps. You should be able to work without being tracked by the federal government. Yeah, you can carry without a permit in Idaho, no doubt. West Wind proposed a 1 point per county system like the Electoral College to keep Spokane from ruling. Well, yeah, that's basic representation, right? Political subdivision which is what a republic is. That's what senators are supposed to be. One senator per state, or two senators per state. They told, really, the people involved with the state of Liberty told you to pack sand, huh? Huh. What are their proposals? How are they going to run it over there? I don't understand how it's going to run if they don't run it in some form or fashion like that. Or is it because they just want Spokane to run everything? Although it's hard to imagine. See who they got over there. Is this Congressman Shays? Is he kind of behind that? Is he kind of involved in that? I guess I'd say. Lots of questions. John Dingle's art about fixing the federal government. There is no fixing the federal government, Christine. It's not possible. It has to be salted of the earth, and states have to reorganize amongst themselves. You can't fix these 50 states. The union is broken. It has been since Lincoln, but we're just now really starting to really feel it to the nth degree. But I might have to look it up and read it just to see how wrong he is. You can talk about trying to fix it all you want, but as soon as you try to start to fix it, it's going to burn to the ground because you have to take out the Federal Reserve, and once it goes bankrupt, it's ineffective. So if you can get the federal government through a bankruptcy hearing and everything and get it through all that and all the monies owed the American people, et cetera, what comes out the other end would be a dissolved union, which is where we need to go anyway. But nobody wants to hear the peaceful resolution. Everybody would rather have a violent, forced together union than a peaceful disunion. Lincoln has proved that. Barry Wood Spokane cops are tyrants. Weren't all municipal cops tyrants, Barry? All municipal cops, all they are for the most part is fee gatherers. They pick up the pieces after somebody has been assaulted or something. But I mean, any municipality that has cops doesn't do it for the protection of the people. And that's the problem. Another problem with that whole thin blue line propaganda, trying to rope in sheriffs who are completely different. What's the word for it? They have a completely different mandate. Their mandate is completely different than municipal cops, but they're being roped in and sucked into the same trap of funding and fighting terrorism and all the other white collar crimes in particular, that they use them for leverage against the people. Oh, Christian, you said it was interesting, not that you thought it would work. Shay's taking a back seat. Well, it's good that you would have people out front leading an effort like that aren't currently politicians. State of Jefferson's kind of like that. It's not really politicians leading the way. It's county level people, which is where it has to be run at. Hey, Billy Bird Outdoors, good morning. Welcome. Thanks for checking in. I don't know how we got on the subject of Eastern Washington secession, but I like it. Yeah, Billy Bird, Tommy Boy's been UA today, so you're on your own. Have to find your own deer antlers. Bikes, people tend to forget that criminals can act nice, right? Thus is our biggest problem as humans, is we are far too trusting, and those that are evil are far too good at manipulating other people. It's tried and true formula through time. Good people just want to be left alone and go about our business. Meanwhile, those that would do evil deeds toil endlessly to get their way. And here we are. Huge problem. Thanks, bikes. It ruined my day right there. So thanks for checking in, folks. We're going to have to wrap this up and get on down the road here, get things moving in the right direction. Thanks for the discussion. We didn't really talk about anything on the current events side, a little bit on Venezuela, but hopefully it just dies its own death. Hopefully we don't have to deal with it. But people, the powers that be, there's a lot of people that want to insert their business in down there. But I haven't been able to put the video together on this, but I talked about it the other day on the chat. Is there's possible ties, if you want to put your conspiratorial mind to it, that Venezuela is tied to the fourth generation warfare going on between the U.S. and China, and that it's just the Southern Front is starting to develop, and it's all tied together. So it may be inevitable that Venezuela remains a big stick in the mud for us up here, and a big issue that we're going to continue to be involved in, whether we know it or not. unfortunately. Why do I got to go get a real job, Bikes? What do you mean? What I need to go? Keene County bought a private island? How do they afford that? Why would the people of Keene County need an island to begin with? See where oh, Christine, I'm all in. I'm all in on the state of Jefferson. I've even said I might move if they get that thing going. What we need is Nevada to give Clark County to LA, and Nevada and the state of Jefferson can join forces. But I know you wouldn't like that. You don't want to be part of LA, right? Or so looks like we're all. So y'all have a good weekend. If we don't see you on the YouTube here somewhere, appreciate y'all coming in. Good discussion. Keeping my head straight. Giving me some information as well. All you folks up in the Northwest there, watch out for that storm. Sounds like a lot of you are prepared and ready to go for it, though, so that's good. Make sure you're checking everybody out. I think just about everybody on here does videos, or a good portion of you guys. If you don't know who does videos and whatnot, go look around. We'll talk to you later. Live free.